Well, hello everyone. And yes, hello. Yes. And thanks for coming and being here and remembering Glenda with us all. I'm her son, Danny Pratt. And Glenda has been many things to all of us. It's a beautiful list, and it's personal to each of us. She gave such a welcoming example of a beautiful way to live. And at the heart of what connects each of our experience of Glenda is very well her wonderful deep listening. Listening with her whole self. And so I invite us all to do the same here today. Listen with our whole selves. The acknowledgement of country I have here, Mum wrote for the Passion of the Peace. And it's beautiful, so I'm going to read that. We begin first with the story of the world and the first song, which is the natural harmony between all things. We acknowledge that story in this beautiful country. We love this country, and we acknowledge the Ngunnawal and Ngambri peoples who nurtured life here through tens of millennia, before the trauma time of colonization and war. We are deeply sorry for all of the ways that we have failed to maintain that harmony. We offer our respect to the elders, past, present, and emerging. We also acknowledge other Indigenous peoples' wisdoms and traditions. And today, we particularly recall the wisdom of our European ancestors. So, one of Mum's big ideas, and the big idea that she was really big on at the end of her life was the well springs. And at the essence of that, it's like, this is an example of it, all of us here. It's the healthy substratum of society that really holds it together. What's really holding society together is this kind of thing. And she wrote about that at length and made these, beautiful songs about that. And it relates back to, for the Europeans amongst us and those whose ancestry is in those roots, to a history where we actually all really lived in harmony. And so it's possible. And so today we have a wellspring here, our own wellspring. And I'd like to invite Mim to come and walk us through it. Oh yeah, and to light a candle.
Glenda, Glenda was connected to the well springs, as Diane just said. She gave the well springs many, many names. Far from the green of the sprouting seeds, the well springs flow down deep. She would say it was a place where the songs of life come from. Even when life on the surface may seem undone, dark, full of grief, or even destroyed, the well springs pulsate, chanting, humming, calling forth what wants to come into being. As we listen to the music excerpt from the Singing Hill, some of Glenda's family and friends will fill this vessel for us. And we remember all together that the spirit of the well springs never dies. The love songs keep flowing.
The ancestors are here. Women are singing. The hill beneath us is singing. The spirit of the valley never dies. It is the root of all heaven and earth, the mother of the 10,000 things. Going far away, it returns. Frail, frail it is, hardly existing, but touch it, it will never run dry.
So this is my big brother Louis, and this is Mum's granddaughter, Sienna.
You do waving? We practiced.
So we're here to talk about Glenda, the mother, and wife, and family, home ground. Oh, yes, Glenda, the mother. Oh, that's much better. Yeah, I was telling my dad he has to do this in the morning, and then I just totally forgot myself. Mum was such a supporter of, as she might say it, what is coming into being. And so growing up inside that was amazing and sometimes intense almost in the push for me to be who I am and become myself. And I think she gave that to all of us and in the family, and I'm so grateful to have had the experience of her. And when she was diagnosed with cancer, from the very moment, the way that she held that and moved through the diagnosis and through her dying and to her death was so graceful and strong and beautiful and connected to everyone, and she just poured that strength into me and to our family, and I still feel it. I still feel my connection to her that is not clouded by grief. I have my grief and I have my sorrow, but I still have this pure connection to her and what she's like now, and I can feel her, and I think that was a real gift that she gave to me because of the way that she is. And and here's Louis.
Thank you. Thank you for all coming to celebrate Glenda's life. And I'm actually here to talk about Glenda, the grandmother. And if you can see on the back of the program, you can see a photograph of Glenda with Sienna and Dad just when she was just 10 days old. And it was really wonderful. Glenda wanted to be called Nana, by the way. So she was always called Nana. Oh. We've got a budding singer here in the family. You want to put that back? Okay. Anyway, I guess one of the beautiful things about Glenda and with Sienna is she said she was perfect and we just let her do whatever she wanted. And that was a really wonderful thing. And the other thing that I think was a really beautiful moment that we captured on camera was that Glenda made Sienna giggle for the first time. So that was a great experience. And she'd also think of Sienna as renewal. And I think that's an important thing for us to keep in our hearts today. Thank you. Did you want to say anything? Okay. Waving. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Take that off.
All right, give it up for Sienna. my mum's favourite song of mine. And we worked on it a lot together, we've sung it a lot together, and here I am singing it with her two wonderful musical confidants.
We haven't quite sung it as often as
And just to say, you know, this song really is like the distillation or the essence of my understanding of my mum's music and beliefs. And it's called Darkening Country. Hard because you made it hard. It's changing, that's the way it does. It's being with the painful stuff. Don't forget this place, this is dark room country. Sound of waking up to you, Jesus. It's easy because you made a love.
My name is, not I am, I don't know who I am, my name is Craig Sandrock. Louis, I remember 1996 when you were about 19 and you came to Central Australia as a developing painter and you created those extraordinary large-scale paintings, big like that, for our performance of the Bacchae. That was a wild time. I'm glad your baby wasn't there then. And Daniel, you might remember Uncle Craig, that was me when you came to Central Australia when you were quite young, 7 or 8, and we gave you a very old antique boomerang to keep, and it's become your guitar. My task is to say a little of Glenda's development as a psychotherapist, psychoanalyst, and I had a hand in her formation, as did 1 or 2 others of us here and became her colleagues. I have in mind the parable of the sower. A certain person went out to sow her field. Some seeds fell upon stony ground, and some seeds fell among thorns, and some seeds fell upon fertile ground. And here is the evidence that she cast her seeds upon fertile ground. I shall speak briefly to the period 86 to 96, when Glenda also came to Central Australia and participated in our performances of the Dionysian epic, the Bacchae. I met her through the Change Agency, through a group of Temenos, a group of friends here who work together, through the miracle of the social ecology school at the University of Western Sydney, Hawkesbury College, under the guidance of Brendan and David Russell, and many people who were associated later with Glenda and her works were part of John Cameron and the Social Ecology School. There she earned her PhD and her master's. And Marguerite Castello, who some of you will know, has written in more detail, and you can read that on the website. For me, I want to follow a few words of my own, and one day that baby will remember. She sits among trees. She listens with the people. She is concerned with civilization, the civilization of good relations, in person, in family, in work, in country. She listened to the people. She became a journalist. She became a therapist. She took up the voice of women for peace. She turned her face to the voices of war. She addressed them. She understood the consequences of the traumas of tyranny. She sang in the House of Parliament. She gathered about her the mantle of song. She gathered about her the shawl of wisdom. She did not shout in the streets. She undertook the quiet ethos of care. And she undertook the arduous training of an analyst, I said, of the psyche. It was there that I came to know her vital spirit, a spirit that would not kowtow, that would not lie down, a spirit that would not be silenced. a spirit that would undertake the disciplines of truth. She would not be silenced. She listened to the people. She sat among babies and among trees. That's for you. And in the Academy of Psychotherapy, she acquired the skills of discernment, the courage of her intuition. She schooled herself in the knowledge of humankind. She researched the history of womankind. She followed the steps of the archaeology of women's civilization. She followed Maria Gimbutas and Mrs. Cameron. She pondered the faces of the ancient icons of old Europe, the stone and the mud of old Europe, the bees in amber, the owl, the trees. She studied the hidden nature of men in power who would overturn democracy. She foresaw the rise and rise again of the oligarch, that abandoned boy with the worm of fear in his belly. She stood firm in Parliament with you. She sang in the company of you. She followed the mysteries, the unbroken thread that runs right through to the beginning of time. She knew the underworld. She knew the integrity of the human core that, like the seed of the pomegranate, flourishes, rises, and rises again. She knew the tragedies of mankind. She was there in Athens in 458 BCE when Aeschylus presented his trilogy, the Oresteia. She knew Sophocles, Jocasta, and her children. Tiresias was a friend of hers. She saw Oedipus consult the oracle in Delphi on his fateful day. She knew the hard road of Thebes, the Furies, the kindly ones. She is a friend of Athena. She loves the grey-eyed owl. She became a voice, a clear voice. The voice we came to know and love. And so be it. She who sits among trees.
I walked up and down the path to Glenda's yurt for many years. Inside we were two women sitting together, playing in the potential space between us, one helping the other to transform her trauma and suffering. We dove into the deep, Glenda lighting our path with her empathy and compassion. The telos was always towards wholeness and an unfolding and discovery of the true self. Psychoanalysis, by its nature, is private, and each pair is on their own unique journey. So what can I tell you about this quiet, secret part of Glenda's life? I want you all to know, especially her dear family here and in New Zealand, that she had healing gifts that made change and transformation possible. She brought all her gifts to the earth, including the Jungian and the Indigenous European wisdom lineages she carried. Her great trust in the cycles of life meant that she knew that lament was the start of renewal and that love is stronger than death. She was a steady, compassionate companion through dark nights of the soul, and I felt held in her loving, steady gaze. The same creative gifts and symbolic capacity that manifested great choral works worked constantly in our chemical vessel of the earth. She was ever alert to what was wanting to come into being, including in a dream's symbolic messages. Glenda encouraged creativity in all its forms and was my trusted confidant to talk through all the ideas bubbling around inside of me. She taught me about our European Indigenous ancestors and their regenerative themes in their visual art. Our shared deep sense of social and environmental justice nourished the work we did together. Glenda listened deeply, talked thoughtfully, and knew how to sit with big things quietly. She said this thing she had learnt from her clients, the how to sit with big things quietly, helped her when she became ill. Consistent with everything I know about Glenda as an analyst was the beautiful ceremony she had to close her practice when she could no longer work. She collected flowers, herbs and plants from her garden and began the invocation. Now I'll quote her own words. I had prepared a list of the people who had visited the earth to see me professionally. I welcomed each of these persons in turn in this way. I opened the door and greeted him, her, them by name. After placing the sprig of a plant and a flower on their chair, I sat opposite, remembering this person in loving meditation. I prayed for their well-being. When this felt complete, I opened the door and said, fare thee well, and their name. I closed the door quietly, as I have done at the end of countless sessions, watching as they walked up the path. Then I placed the plants in the large red vase around the base of the fireplace. Glenda was full of grace, alongside a kind of wildness and a wonderful and wicked sense of humour. I found myself healed in her wisdom, holding and love.
We are
In the magic of my imagination, I soften my senses and literal remembering quietens. I set my ear to the sounds, the bees, dolphin, owl, the snake, and wild honeycomb. I hear her. I hear Glenda and all the mother cosmos that she was wrapped up inside. That music was taken from the Canticle of the Night, a Glenda Clochley original, which she composed during her cello lessons with David Pereira back in 2014. It was also a seedling song for her big work, A Passion for Peace, with a chorus of women. The Canticle of Night is a lullaby and lament sung between a mother and her baby, between generations. Lay lulay, my little babe, and when the world's at war, it seems love's circles are all torn. Though 100 years may pass, yet mother time is now. And before each new child's born, we'll sing for peace, and hope will bring the light. The sweet lulays have been woven into the beautiful mundane of my daily life. I hear the simplicity and intricacy, and at once I am effortlessly immersed in the wellsprings, the eternal undercurrent of life and dream that will never run dry, past, present, and future. Glenda and I sang to each other, not literally, well, sometimes literally, but she was better than me, like way better, but almost always imaginatively singing. The sound of back and forth between two women singing imaginatively to one another, like mother-daughter, but not quite, like auntie and niece, but not quite, like crone and maiden, but not quite. Together, we were both wise and innocent at the same time. She was completely and utterly embodied and devoted to the transformative life's work of receiving, living, and passing on the mantle of love, celebrating it in all its variations that dwell in all of us here today. The web of imaginative singing, mentoring, conversation, and friendship between people, the earth, the waters, the ancestors was a rich and deep wellspring of Glenda's life. A month before she died, we went on a road trip to Malua Bay, the place where her dear friend and mentor Dorothy Cameron lived. Dorothy was a visionary artist and prehistorian, and her son Peter is here with us today. One might say that Dorothy initiated Glenda into the world of the Divine Mother and nurtured Glenda's instincts towards regenerative patterning and symbolism in the past, present, and future. And of course, Dorothy was initiated into this world through Maria Gimbutas, an archaeologist and prehistorian whose life's work proved that women and femininity had a central social, political, and spiritual role in prehistoric Europe, and a goddess-centered spirituality. The power of regeneration and peace flows deeply through all these women and continues into the next generation. nurture for the great-great-grandchildren. For the last 12 months, Glenda began talking about beauty truths. She would get a twinkle in her eye and smile as if her whole heart was opening up. She described beauty truths as deep truths of life and dream and human heart that are so beautiful they ignite a transformation. Glenda ignited in me beauty truths that changed my life. May the love songs go on and on in all of us.
Hello, I met Glenda in September 2002 because I was at Dorothy Cameron's memorial. I had taught her teenage children when they were in my Canberra Children's Choir, and Dorothy had been very good to me subsequently, and so I was at her memorial. And part of that memorial was an amazing moment when a woman I'd never seen before stood up. It was in the Great Hall of University House. She stood up with a cloak made of feathers, and she had a tape recorder, and the tape recorder gave out some Greek instrumental music, above which this woman then improvised vocally, wordlessly, but an extraordinary voice came out of her, a deep, rich voice such as I'd never heard before. No words, as I said. I had to go and speak to her afterwards, so I asked her her name, and she told me. And she asked me my name, so I told her, and she said, "Oh, you're a composer." I said, "Yes, I'm also a singer." And I said, "I also love improvising with my voice. I would find it very pleasurable to improvise with you, together with you." And so we began to do that. We only had, I think, 6 months or so of time between that date and the coming war. But at that point, of course, we weren't thinking about the war, we were just thinking about the fact that singing together was wonderful. We improvised in art galleries sometimes. We would look at paintings and make our voices express what we felt about the artworks. And sometimes a woman called Yolanta joined us, and so we were sometimes a trio, and it was very wonderful. But then, as I said, this impending war began to loom over everybody, and we were both, of course, very distressed about this impending war. We both went independently on the march through Civic. I remember ringing her after that march and saying, "It's not enough. It doesn't express what we need to express. It needs music." And she said, "Yes, it does." She said, "I've written a poem. Come over and write a tune to my poem." So I hopped in a taxi and rushed over to her house and quite quickly wrote a tune to her poem. And then she said, we're going to sing this. We're going to get all our singing friends, all our women singing friends, and we're going to sing this in the foyer of Parliament House on next Tuesday. And so, well, she was very good at that sort of thinking and very good at that sort of organising. I wasn't at all. Anyway, because I'd been a choral conductor for years, I knew lots of singing women, so I rang up all my singing women friends. I sang it to them in solfa over the phone, and they learnt it that way. And Glenda was very good at emails, and so she contacted all of her women friends who she felt would be able to be part of this event. And we had a couple of rehearsals in her garden with 30 or 40 people, you know, a slightly different group each of the two times. It was only 4 days from the day we wrote the song till the Tuesday. And we told everyone to come to the foyer, sort of just, you know, float along sometime between 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock, just as though you're a tourist or something, don't look special. But we had told them that exactly at 1 o'clock I would stand on one of the staircases halfway up, and she would stand halfway up the other staircase. I would sing the first phrase, she would finish the first phrase, and then all the other people, whoever they might be, would join us, and we would keep on singing. So that's what we did. And it was quite extraordinary, as probably many of you remember. And this year, being the 20th anniversary of that event, we actually got permission this time. And Glenda rang me again and said, I've written more words. And this time she said, this time I'm calling for all people, including men this time, to give our voice to the song of life, to give a promise to children and earth. She said, you need to expand the music to fit these new words in. Well, the first music had been Mixolydian mode, which has it's major with a flattened seventh, you know, a bit sort of. So this time I thought, righto. So we went major all the way. So here it is.
I want to try and capture the essence of what Glenda taught us in the original lament 20 years ago and since. She would say she just helped us remember what we already knew. She taught us about love. In the words of one of her songs, we didn't stop the war, but our love found a voice. In the 7:30 report that night, Fran Kelly referred to us as a chorus of women. Glenda spent a sleepless night with our passionate voices in her ears. The next morning, she wrote a letter proposing that we get together for philosophy meetings and that we keep singing. In our first meeting, she told us that lament was women's business in many traditional cultures, and lament was a love song. She also told us about the chorus in ancient Greek theatre. It was made up of the ordinary citizens who comment and tell what must happen. This is what we had done. In Glenda's words, we resounded a voice of empathy and human connection that had been silent in public life. We wanted to remain true to this voice, so we decided to write our own music. The story of my friendship with Glenda is inseparably interwoven with the story of chorus, and the idea and experience of finding and giving voice. As a Hungarian refugee who had suffered displacement and separation from my family because of the decisions of political leaders driven by ideology and power, I felt very passionate about this ancient public voice Glenda had rediscovered, this voice of human kindness and care for life that spoke the undeniable. I believe it to be a stronger voice than protest, as it seeks to reconnect rather than antagonize. When Judy got too busy with her many musical pursuits, Glenda asked me to help with musical direction. I initially shared it with Judy. I had had almost 2 decades of experience conducting choirs, but when I started directing chorus, I suddenly knew this is why I'd learned all this stuff. But I also learned new things. I marveled at Glenda's development from songwriter to composer, and I realized her music writing process related closely to her psychotherapy practice. It came from deep listening. After less than a year of hearing choral sounds arranged from her melodies by me or Judy, she wrote by Molonglo Waters. You heard the excerpt, Remembering, with Judy's beautiful voice and choral harmonies. This haunting music came to Glenda as she was sitting near Lake Burley Griffin, profoundly listening with Judy's voice in her inner ear. Glenda didn't know how to do things by halves. She didn't do casual friendships. When she met anyone, she related to that person with her full self. Many people have described this experience of being fully met. Tony will remember this too. In 2004, when some of us chorus women were in Brisbane to be part of Glenda's Temenos lecture called Lament and Renewal, we were milling around before the event. Then we were told it was time to get started. However, Glenda was nowhere to be found. I asked Tony whether he had any idea where Glenda was, And he responded, I saw her over there relating. Glenda and I did a lot of relating. Tony would often say, God, you women can talk. We shared each other's life stories. We visited each other's home countries, New Zealand, Austria, and Hungary. We met each other's families and friends. Over the years, we became soul sisters. And in the chorus, we grew this passion for singing up our innate voice of care for each other and for nature, resounding the original harmony. Glenda told us about telos, the Greek word for what wants to come into being, what we have in us to become as individuals and collectively. She often reminded us that what we were trying to do in chorus was larger than any single one of us. And she encouraged each of us to find our voices to contribute. She helped me rediscover my true singing voice. In sessions, listening to each other and helping each other with musical expression. I even found I had my own music in me. As a classically trained musician, I never considered writing music. But Glenda said, of course you can. So I started listening inside and found that my ideas and feelings had words and tunes. What a new and wondrous experience. It was Glenda, though, who wrote most of our music. I called her composer doctor. She had the largest capacity for listening deep, so she could find the right healing music for each occasion. I loved watching her creative process. In 2008, Glenda was asked to give a paper for the Canberra Jung Society about relations between people and earth. She labored over it for quite a while. And then she said to me, Johanna, I think I'm going to sing this paper. This singing paper grew and grew into The Gifts of the Furies, Glenda's first major work for a chorus of women. She labored over the music and the lyrics. It wasn't right until it felt just right. That could cause issues with rehearsal schedules, especially in the big works with soloists and instruments. Clock time was not her forte. But Glenda knew all about mother time, the eternal now. That's where her lyrics and music came from. And we want to continue to give our voice to the song of life, in Glenda's words and in our own. Speak the undeniable, sing our shared humanity, our care for the earth and for our children, with love and compassion. And we want to share what we have learned with younger generations. Please.
At our Thursday night meetings, we knew that something big was brewing when Glenda leant in, eyes bright with anticipation, with a comment like, I've had an idea, or I've been thinking about this or that story. Her big choral works, The Gifts of the Furies and A Passion for Peace, tell very different stories. But under the surface, both are about how to live well with each other and with the earth. As we just heard, Glenda also invented a brand new genre of knowledge sharing, the singing paper. In this spirit, we're going to sing two pieces that go to the heart of her big choral works and resonate strongly with the world today. The first is from The Passion and includes words from Australian suffragist and peace activist Vida Goldstein in a message to the women of the world at Christmas 1914. The second, from the finale of The Gifts of the Furies, is Glenda's setting of the Homeric hymn to the earth, Gaia, from about 800 BCE. It is followed by a promise to Gaia and future generations to live in harmony with nature.
Thank you, a chorus of women. About 3 months before Mum died, I was sitting around the dining room table with her, and I was asking, what do I do when I need you? And where do I look? And I brought up her PhD and asked her, about reading that and other things that she's written. And she thought about it for a bit, and then she said, it's all in the music.
Around lunchtime on the day before she died, Glenda was lying unconscious in our bedroom, being given pain relief by the palliative care team. My son Daniel and I were there, together with several members of the chorus. As we were watching her, Glenda lifted up her hands and put them, palms wide open and facing upwards, next to her cheeks. With her eyes still shut, she then spoke clearly and deliberately. And this is what she said. Tomorrow, it will be really lovely to fill it all in and to have all the pieces in place. So if I'm dying, I have all the pieces in place, and say goodbye. Also to have everyone say goodbye, and say goodbye gracefully. And I think that's all. And I love you. I love you all so much. Okie dokie.
I've got one more song for you, and it's something that I wrote for Mum, that came about after Mum died, and in the interest of the continuing on of the mantle and the generation, the generational thread that we enjoyed often in sharing our music. I'll sing this song. It's called Alive Inside. And yesterday, in my mum's true form, I sent a voice memo of the song to the chorus who've never heard it before and said, hey, why don't we all sing this together? So that's going to happen, and we haven't really done it before. And so enjoy, and look, if you feel like you're pulled into it, come along. Inside you now, alive and strong. I'm alive inside you now, just like your songs. alive inside of you now, alive and strong, alive inside of you now, just like your songs, my boy. I'm alive inside of you now, alive and strong. I'm alive inside of you now, just like your songs, my boy. Ooh, mama.
We have all shared in a piece in the fabric of Glenda's big understanding, her understanding of and commitment to peace, love, and beauty. I believe peace, love, and beauty can be expressed in this simple movement, and I invite you all to join me. You can remain seated, or if you would like to stand, that is good too. Let's inhale deeply and exhale. And one more inhale and exhale. Let's imagine we have a ball of golden light in our hands. And with this ball, we make a movement of the figure of 8 on the horizontal plane. We can gently shift our weight from one side to the other, turning the ball on each loop of the 8. This movement is the yin and the yang, the dark and the light, the balance of all things. It is one continuous line signifying infinity. This new thing, the farewell picnic on the next stage.
All right, dear friends and singers and family and everyone, thanks very much for coming. And I'm reminded of this thing just before we go, you know, when I go to Mum with something heavy or hard to hold or difficult, generally amidst the long listening and thoughtful conversation, we'd get to, you'll work it out. And you will. And so, yeah, thanks for being here, and yeah, off we go. Carry on.
I just wanted to make an invitation, as Danny said in the very beginning, that we all have our own very individual experience and relationship with Glenda. So at the Wellsprings, everyone is invited in your own time, like after we finish here and however long, to come down and choose a flower and place it around our Wellsprings vessel or inside the vessel. However you'd like to have that moment, you're all very welcome. Thank you.